Hi, this is Pete Madsen for Acoustic Guitar, and I'm here today to talk about my lesson on CAGED, loving it. If you've heard of the CAGED system, you might be familiar with these first position chords of C, A, G, E, and D. C-A-G-E-D, CAGED. There's a lot of information on the internet about CAGED. I even wrote a book about CAGED. You can look that up. What you won't see as often, though, is information on seventh chords, which can operate the same way they do in the normal CAGED system. Just to note that the CAGED, C-A-G-E-D, are all major triads. The dominant seventh chords are the same chord but with a flatted seventh at it. So rather than there being 3 notes in the chord, there's 4 notes. You are probably already familiar with these chord shapes if you've been playing guitar for a little while. So let me play example 1 just to remind you what these chords are. C7, and we'll say 7 rather than dominant 7, but that's the name that's implied, is a dominant 7, a flatted 7. So C7, A7, G7, E7, and D7. Okay. Now the idea is we start thinking about those different chords rather than like that's C7, but we call it C7 with a C shape. And what I'm going to do is move the chords up the neck to make different C7 chords using the different shapes. So this is example 2. C7, and I'll say C7 with the C shape. Now I'm going to go up to a C7 with an A shape, and you'll notice I have this A shape. It's the same as the A7 here, but I have to use a finger to bar to make up for the idea that there are no open strings. So that's what you'll notice about these other shapes. As I move them up the neck, I'll be barring with my first finger. So this is C7 with a shape, with an A shape. Same chord, different shape. Okay, the next shape in this configuration is a G shape, and this is a bit of a finger buster, and I'll show you later on how to make this easier. But for right now, just so you can see, this is a G7 shape here. That's hard. Okay, so that's a C7 with a G shape, and then we have a C7 with an E shape. And if I went back to the E shape that I used here, I can add the pinky, and that does the 7th twice, the flatted 7th twice. And then finally there is the C7 with a D shape. This is a D7 shape. So if I walk up and play all those, C with the C shape, C7 with an A shape, C7 with a G shape, C7 with an E shape, and C7 with a D shape. Okay, so that's example 2. Example 3, I'm going to do the same thing but with a group of A7 chords. So A7 with an A shape. Here's A7 with a G shape. You notice they keep going in the same order, C-A-G-E-D. If this is A with an A shape, A7 with an A shape, you know that the next chord in the sequence will be a G shape. So here's A7 with a G shape. Then A7 with an E shape. A7 with a D shape. And then to come back full circle to a C shape, we have A7 with a C shape between the 10th and 12th fret. You notice I'm not barring here, but I'm only playing the 4 middle strings, not playing the 6th or the 1st string. Okay, so those are all examples from week 1. We lay out the 7th chords, then we lay out the 7th chords in example 2, all for C, and then example 3 we do all A. Let me give you 2 more ways to make 2 of the shapes. So I've talked about the G7 shape, and this is an A chord with a G7 shape. That's a finger buster, and I don't like to use this. It's hard to get into. So what I'll do is I'll shorten it to just this. For A7, I can play the open A string, and then play other strings as fretted strings. I could also just play the 4 fretted strings, and that makes it a movable chord. So if I moved it up, it'd be a B7, C7, etc. There's also the E shape. So this was A7 with an E shape. I can reduce this down, and I'm going to do this in some of the other examples I do today, to just borrowing 4 strings and using my middle finger to fret the 3rd string 6th fret. Okay. So those were examples 4A and 4B. 4A was the A7 reduced down, the G shape reduced down to just 4 strings, and then the E shape 4B, which was 6 strings reduced down to 4 strings.